Welcome to the High Performance Man podcast. I am your host, John Fayocavitz. On this show, I interview successful men who have built impressive careers in businesses, founders, CEOs, and senior leaders, and professionals who have operated at a high level for years. We talk primarily what made them successful. So the goal is simple, to learn directly from the men who have done it, so we can apply those insights into our own careers, our own businesses, and lives, and continue raising our own standard of performance. The show is sponsored by the Prime Performance Method. The Prime Performance Method is designed specifically for high-performing men who have achieved success in their careers but feel like their body and energy have taken a hit along the way. We help busy professional men regain strength, reclaim their energy, and feel younger within 8 weeks without long workouts, extreme dieting, or disrupting their demanding schedule. So if you're a high-performing man who wants to feel as strong and energized as you are successful, message me, John Fayocavitz, on LinkedIn. On today's show, we have Jeff Ornstein, who is the CEO of Brice Design International, where he designs luxury hotels and condo towers. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. My first question, what's the most important lesson you've learned so far that has helped you become successful in your business?
Be honest.
Okay.
It's very simple. Do what you say you're going to do. So, you can strive for excellence. Sometimes if you have a pitfall or stumble along the way, that's human nature. Own your mistakes or errors or omissions, and people will appreciate you more.
Yeah.
But deliver. If you're going to make a promise, deliver on it and do whatever it takes to deliver.
Okay. And that seems like something in this society or culture we have right now is people don't deliver. I mean, I've seen things all over where they make promises and they don't deliver on what they promise. And
It's true.
Makes everybody else feel like they're, you got to work harder just to get somebody's trust and then go from there.
Well, again, if you're being honest, represent your skills and your talents honestly, and don't oversell yourself. At the risk of sounding immodest, I never had a problem with that because I always had a lot of confidence in what I do and the designers that I employ. And you're going to gain someone's trust. And in our business, projects are tens of millions of dollars. The relationships usually last for more than 2 years, 3 years. So it's a marriage of sorts. So the last thing you want to do is go into a marriage misrepresenting the goods. So deliver what you say you're going to deliver. Do it on time, in budget, hopefully with a smile on your face and making the experience pleasant. Step up to the plate because in our industry also, there are multiple consultants that are involved on any given project. And it doesn't make a difference who falters. If the project can go south because of one weak link. So basically, our motto is we'll step up to the plate and fill in the gaps when one consultant may be MIA or not delivering timely. So, because if you go down, you all go down. The client might say, that project was okay, wasn't great, and then they'll move on and you could get lumped in with the bad seed. So, understanding that the team succeeds as a team and fails as a team, even if you're not the one that should have the finger pointed at you. Right. So being a team player is also very important.
Okay. Now, how long have you had your business?
37 years. January 15th, 1989, I started this business. And we went international in 1995. And the majority of our work up until just recently was, in fact, overseas. So through a series of being in the right place at the right time with the right skill sets that were needed, we were able to plant ourselves in the Middle East where the hotel market was expanding.
Wow.
So we had a lot of good fortune over there. And, you're going over there sort of as you think, am I the boogeyman? I'm American. I'm, not of the Muslim faith. We'll leave it at that. There are reasons where you could say, how am I going to be received? But the truth is, in that part of the world, we were treated really graciously, in even the women that would come and travel with me. very respectfully. And so it sort of busted up some of our misconceptions about what's it really like to do business in that part of the world. And we found respect, and we found opportunity, and opportunities that weren't necessarily around every corner in the United States, these kinds of budgets and these kinds of projects. So yeah, we've been doing it. We're coming up on the big 4-0 soon. So
Wow.
that will be a big milestone.
Now, when you started this 37 years ago, was it by yourself?
It was actually. I had a conflict with my then employer. I didn't agree on a salary raise that he'd offered me. And I just said, I've been doing this for about 7 years. I've directed the year before I directed $100 million at Caesar's Palace. And I said, I can do this. I can do this. So I borrowed a typewriter from a girlfriend of mine that didn't type W. And I had to handwrite in all my W's in my announcement letters that I've started my company.
Oh,
And they started going out on Monday, and I'd send out like 20 or who knows, 15, 20, 30 a day. And by Friday, I had 2 hotel projects and a restaurant. So we hit the ground running rather quickly.
well, that was my next question was when you started out by yourself, I know you said that being honest, was that right off the gate? I mean, did you start being, man,
Right out the gate.
that's
And
the way I'm going to be.
yeah, and yeah, I'll tell you, before I started my very first job, so I'm 21 years old. The night before, my dad called me, and I thought he was calling to say, good luck, you're going to do great, you're going to be a partner soon, don't worry about it, you're a superstar. Well, he didn't say any of that. He said, tomorrow you're going to start your first job, and you are going to be the least experienced person in the office. You're going to have the least amount to bring to any project. You're not going to have a lot of respect from your courts because they're going to be meshed in their projects, and you're going to be the new kid on the block. What do I do? Where do I go? Where's the pencil sharpener? And he said, but the one thing you do bring is your integrity. And the only one who can lessen your integrity is you yourself.
You yourself.
And if you do something by deed or word or action, and you lessen your integrity, you might be able to build it back, but you'll never build all of it back. So just be really careful and stand behind your actions and your words. And that was 1982. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. And that's the modus operandi in this office.
That's
Just
awesome.
maintain your integrity. And sometimes that means taking a hit,
Right.
I mean, shit happens, and you can,
Yeah.
you can issue a document that's got a mistake in it or an error or something comes in and you know, it's messed up. Let's just leave it at that.
Right.
You got to stand behind your work, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and clients will appreciate that. Now, luckily, we don't make a lot of those mistakes, but it can and it will happen. So,
Yeah.
Own it.
How did you, when you first started by yourself and did you market anything or was it word of mouth? I mean, what?
No, I didn't market because I had been a designer only in Boston, and I had worked for several of the very big names developers in Boston. And in addition to being, a consultant of theirs under the umbrella of somebody else's name, I developed relationships with these people. So I had one of these mega Rolodexes that was like this big, and I just went through it A to Z, and people responded. And they said, because you can do business with anybody. You want to, the Arabs always say, we want the best. We only want the best. But you also want to do business with the people you like, especially in our business when the contracts are very long. So if you can choose between a great designer who's sort of a schmuck or a great designer who you like, that you want to go out for dinner with after the meeting, you're going to choose a great designer that you like. So, being likable goes a long way,
Yeah.
and being respected for who you are as a person, not just as a professional. So
Right.
I had a lot of positive response. Um, I had the president of the Beacon Hotel Corporation was feeding me lots of these projects, guest room projects, suites projects, restaurant projects. And I was like, no, Jim, I want the big enchilada. Give me the new build in Chicago. Give me the new build in San Antonio. He's like, Jeff, I can't give you a $40 million project. You're 27 and, you've been in business for 4 months, just
Right.
wait. And I remember going home, I hate to admit it, and saying, I just wish I was older. I would not
Oh
wish that
man.
now,
So,
but I did at the time. I just wish I was older. But he was a great hotelier. He was the genius behind the All Suite Hotel. He conceived of it. Um, I remained friends with him and his wife and his children for many, many years. He's actually passed away a couple of years back. Um, but you have people that really believe in you. And those are the relationships that you cherish, and you make sure I'm not going to let these people down.
Right.
So, and
So I'm sure
I had a bunch of them.
a lot of your clients became friends.
Oh, absolutely. I've had clients, come stay with me in my beach home. I've had clients that, after meetings, let's all go out to dinner. My wife's coming to town. Let's go out for dinner.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I see one of my clients is now the prime minister of Qatar. I see him every year at Davos. And when I see him,
Really?
yeah, he's the prime minister. I mean, he's a big
Oh,
cheese.
yes.
I see him across a room, and he parts the people away, comes over, gives me a big hug. And I haven't designed a hotel for him now for 15 years. But you
Wow.
develop those friendships. A young kid who's graduating from BU reached out to me. He had researched me as someone who was a young entrepreneur, and he was very brilliant, a nuclear physicist or something, and blah, 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 blah. He wanted to do a startup, and he wanted to know, what does it take to be a young entrepreneur? What are the components to make a successful startup? And 5% of startups make it. Okay. That's a
Mhm.
daunting,
Yeah.
percentage. And I share with him pretty much what I've been sharing with you.
Yeah.
Be honest, do the right thing, and document your strengths, but also more importantly, know who your clients are. Understand, like in my business, a hotel most of the time is a revenue generating asset. So every now and then it's a vanity project. Someone wants to have a big fancy palace and they build a hotel. It's true. But most of the time it's a revenue generating asset. So you want to understand what they're trying to achieve with this investment. So when I make any of my introductory pitches, if you will, I don't just talk about how creative we are and visionary we are and how skilled we are with pattern and motif and architectural detailing. We also talk about how those talents can enhance their investment and separate them, make them distinctive in their marketplace, because that's what they're there for. They're businessmen. If they knew how to
Right.
design, they'd be designing it themselves.
Right.
So understand who your customer is and the things that are going to be important to them, and research it. Don't do more than a 10-minute scan on the internet as to who they are. Understand
Right.
what's really important to them. You know, they might also have personal things on the internet about them. They might be, an avid charitable donor to a particular cause. They might have
Right.
a great sports skill. They may,
Right.
there's a million things about people that you can learn on the internet, and understanding who they are and what's important to them. Or they might be a bastard. You never know, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
and if you go into a meeting expecting to shake a hand, oh, this nice guy, and he's not a nice guy, you can kind of like, set you wobbly a little bit. So
Right.
understanding who you're pitching to is also
Right.
very, very important.
Awesome. Very, very good, Jeff. Nice.
Hmm.
All right. My next question.
Yeah.
What do you think hinders a lot of men today from reaching their full potential?
Wives. No, I'm only kidding. No, just a joke.
That's all
Um,
right.
you know, it's not easy. It's a very competitive world we live in. And, I have a little stupid saying that I share with people sometimes, like the best doctor saves the most lives. The best lawyer wins the most cases. There's no best designer. Who's the best designer? It's completely subjective.
Right.
I believe the best designer is the person who's most convincing. This is how we're going to approach the project. This is how we're going to design it. And this is why. And then talk on multi levels, talk on aesthetics, talk on function, talk on marketplace, talk on demographics, talk on budget, talk on timeline, talk about all those things. But you got to know your shit. So
Yeah.
but be confident and express it articulately. So I think that, if someone's got a little fear of public speaking, or doesn't have the balls to market, marketing is not easy. It took me a while because I didn't market for the first 15 years. The phone just rang.
Right.
God bless me. But then, through 4 recessions and a pandemic that we've lived through, there are times when you do have to market, and you have to
Right.
be able to pick up that phone and call people and say, what's going on? And they know why you're calling.
Right.
I'm looking for work. So you have to be confident in your skills that call is not going to like piss somebody off or put them
Right.
off. So I think you have to know your stuff, don't oversell yourself, and be confident when you approach someone for their work that you're going to do it and you're going to bring to the table something unique, something
Right.
distinctive that's going to
Right.
separate you from the pack. And it's
Right.
not just the low ball bid. You don't have
Right.
to be the low ball bid. I don't
Right.
recommend being the high bid until you're, the top of your
Right.
game. You
Right.
don't have to be the low ball bid.
Right. And I think you mentioned it is just not having that no quit attitude.
Yeah. Oh, you have to, because you know what? Like, I'm 37 years and no one has ever walked away on a Friday without a paycheck. Never. So, and if it comes to a point when cash flow is tight, who's not getting the paycheck?
You.
Right. So, when you go home at night, if you're going to be a business owner, you have to think it's not just about you and your family. It's about all the people that work for you. It's about their food on their table, their mortgage, their life insurance, health insurance. It's going to be all those things, their families, their kids' school books, whatever it is. So you have to recognize that you're taking on a lot more responsibility. I was a designer for many companies before I became a business owner, but nobody trained me how to be a business owner. I was always just a designer. And then
Right.
you shift hats and you put that on, and your responsibility matrix of your day shifts
Right.
significantly because you've got, got to pay the Xerox man. What's the insurance on the condo for the office? And, I got to
Yeah.
buy new furniture, and where we need the computers just blew. And somebody's going to be out sick for 2 weeks. How do I fill that in? So you have to juggle the business end of it. And if you're not up for it, then don't do it. You know,
Right.
you could say, "Oh, I'm a carpenter and I love building stuff and I build the most beautiful hutches and bookshelves units." But if you start your business, it's a lot more than just that.
Yeah.
So, and don't kid yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I never had a partner, and looking back, I if I was to do it differently, I probably would have at one point brought on a partner, but I had kind of gotten so entrenched in saying, if we succeed, we'll succeed as a team. It's everybody at J. Brice's effort. And if we fail, it's going to be a decision I made because I got my blood, sweat, and tears in this company. Um, but when you're 65, you start to see the
Yeah.
world through a different lens.
Different
Like,
lens.
I'm going to
You got it.
leave now and you take care of that irate client. It
You
wouldn't be
got
too
it.
bad.
Just curious, how many employees have you have now?
We're pretty small right now. So we're around 6 and I'm bringing 2 people back on.
That's still
Um,
good.
but we've never been more than 15. And we
Okay.
usually have, like now, we have 7 hotels in the office, 4 condo towers, um, a residential complex we're just starting down in Charlotte, and a mega residence up in Gloucester.
Right.
And that sounds like a lot of projects for a small scale, but you have to understand that our projects ebb and flow. You go
Right.
through schematic design, and then there's the clients marinate on it, and then you go into design development, and that takes time. So all the projects don't go at the same pace, even if you sign 3 at the same
Time.
day.
Right.
So most of the people here in this office, I mean, I'm juggling about 6 right now, and
Wow.
we're all kind of used to it. You have to prioritize your time and understand your deadlines. Because the other thing is, I'll say, don't ever miss a deadline
Yeah.
because a client might not seem irritated, but
But
they
they
are.
are.
They are. So just
Yeah.
make a deadline, make a promise, and just stick to it.
Go from there.
I had a
Right.
designer just recently retired after 29 years at J. Brice.
Oh,
And yeah, she was a lot. We've had several over 20 years, but she was the longest at 29. My old bookkeeper was 27. She never missed a deadline. Never.
that's awesome.
So, and that's remarkable.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
All right. My next question, which I think you led into a little bit here. For most men on the road to business or professional success, other areas of their life may get sacrificed.
hmm
What's been one of the areas, if you had an area of your life that's been suffering or suffered, okay? And what do you would like to be successful now?
I'm sorry, what was the last part of it? What?
But where would you like to be successful now too?
Oh, I see. Um, well, I'll tell you. So I started my company at 28, and I tell people I don't remember my 30s. I don't. I mean, I was working or every day, round the clock, and you know, um, I didn't have a social life. I buried my head. I mean, thank God I had friends from my 20s when, you're going out all the time. I didn't
Yeah.
make a new friend. I didn't pick up a new hobby. I just worked. And I don't know that that's avoidable when you're starting a company. Also when you consider what the demographics are, the stats say for most companies fail, 50% fail within 5 years and
Yeah.
70% fail within 8. So maybe it worked out well for me, but
Right.
I don't remember my 30s. I just worked. So my personal life suffered.
Okay.
I was not in a relationship. I I had my nose to the grindstone. I seized every opportunity I could, no matter how faint or far away or seemingly impossible it was, and left no stone unturned.
Did you
Uh,
see at one point, since you worked like that, did you see any kind of burnout?
no, you know why? Because I really like what I do. So,
Okay.
and also as I grew, like we sort of exploded when I was about 36. That's when we started taking on our overseas projects. The office grew. I had a lot of real talented people in the office. So that sort of takes the burden off. So, we have a pyramidical structure. So I always remained the director and creative director, but I had project directors who were very skilled and could shoulder the teams. Um, I never really experienced burnout. I will tell you though, I recently, about a year ago, I started realizing I got an email, blah, 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 blah. This delivery is going to be late, or these shipments came in and there were pests on the cargo train and it ate away at the carpeting, or oh, the lights came in and the wires are not UL approved. And all of a sudden my heart's jumping. I'm, whoa, what is it? I'm like getting anxiety. And I'm like saying to myself, I never remember getting anxiety over a email. Okay, so there's an issue. We take care of it. And I Googled it and it talks about burnout. So here's what I learned from ChatGPT. I had stressful situations, obviously, in 37 years, but I kind of like just rolled with the punches. We'll take care of it, so on. But the stress from that reading that initial email or having that bad meeting with a client or whatever it was doesn't go away. You just bury it. And
Hmm.
what happens is when people are actually facing burnout, which ChatGPT says is a real thing, that's the backload of stress you've had over the course of your life and your career, kind of like coming out of the seams. So it's not the stress of that particular email. It's the stress of all the emails you've gotten over the last 4 decades, sort of like building up. And that was
Yeah.
helpful because I said, okay, well, I'm not going to let these stupid, they never bothered me before. Why are they bothering me now?
And
So,
that leads me into what's like perfect timing here.
okay.
Okay. Because I'm very curious about this because it's where do you find peace then?
Where do I find peace?
Yep.
At
You
the
got
beach.
all the you got all
Oh,
this
yeah.
going on.
Yep.
You're working, you got maybe stress, like you just said, where do you come down and say, okay, Jeff, this is what I gotta do almost every day. I mean, this is something that where do I find my inner peace? Where do I find my peace where I can come down and relax
Hmm. Hmm.
and take care of me?
Okay, well, I'll tell you, I've always worked out. And that is so good. I mean, not just the physical elements of it, but the mental elements of it and the clarity that it brings to you. And, a lot of people are juggling kids, they got a job, they might be starting their company while they still have another job. Time is precious. It doesn't even matter how much you work out. Of course, more is better, but even if you can only do short workouts, something is better than nothing. Okay.
Absolutely.
The other thing, and I bought myself a beach house back in 1999, and I didn't have a fax, I didn't have a computer. Cell phones were just becoming mainstream. So I was like, they're going to say, well, I'll fax it over the weekend. I'm like, nope, I don't have it. I said, I worked my ass off to buy this house so that this house represents the fruits of my labor. And I don't want to cross the lines and muddy the waters and have my work invade here. So one time I was on the phone, the cell phone, that started becoming more popular, and with an architect, and I was in the shallow end of my pool. And I really wanted to get off him. I don't want to work when I'm at that house. And I said, Hal, I understand what you're saying, but I'm racing to get some documents out. And he's like, Jeff, I can hear the water. So, but the point I'm making is you
Yeah.
have to save time for relaxation
Yeah.
because, that will minimize the burnout. So whether it's being with your family, playing with your dog, doing a hobby, but you can't work around the clock and not have it take a toll. I mean,
Right.
again, I
I mean,
did in the beginning. I'll say I'm guilty of it, but I was able to get out of it by like my late 30s and just say this time is for me. And I think it's
right.
really, really important. And I
Well,
say the same to my staff. I want you taking vacation time. I want you taking personal days. And they'll say, "Oh, you can reach me on my phone. I can check." I don't want you
no,
answering emails.
that's right.
Regenerate.
Because I again go back why I asked that question is because I think not only is physical health, which you work out, but today mental health is so important.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if we don't get that mentally, you know, under control of what we're doing, and it's always burnout or it's always running, and my mind is running, like you said, anxiety is reaching, high blood pressure goes up, everything just, we've got
Right.
to take the time mentally to just decompress.
Right. Decompress. And also check your health. People like, oh, I've never been sick a day in my life. You're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, and all of a sudden you're in 40s. Regular testing for everything. Just go in and get your labs done.
Yeah,
Have a doctor look at it, see if there's anything wonky going on. Because early detection is your best bet
absolutely.
against any kind of chronic illness.
Right. And that's what I've been, that's my feel is what I'm trying. It's you don't know what's going on inside yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Physically outside, you may look good, you may feel good, okay, whatever, but there's maybe something with your cells and your mitochondria, which is, that's a technical term, but
Hmm.
your cells they got to be healed and energized too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And nutrition.
Yeah.
And some people would say the microbiome. So if you don't know about the microbiome, listeners, learn
Yeah.
about the microbiome because that can be
Thank you
life
so much.
changing.
Yes, it is. Well, Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, man. This was been
Good.
so much fun. Okay.
Yep. I enjoyed myself.
You're a very interesting person, man. I'll tell you, it's my audience is going to get a real kick out of this. Okay. They're going to
Excellent.
take the insights in and we'll go from there.
All
Okay.
right. Well,
And
thanks for the invitation.
yeah, as a reminder to everyone listening, this show is brought to you by the Prime Performance Method, where I help high performing men rebuild their strength and energy, confidence without sacrificing their careers. So if you're ready to feel strong in your body as you are successful in your business, message me at John Fayocavitz on LinkedIn. Until our next episode, perform strong in all areas of your life.